Hello everybody and welcome to my reviews, and today we're doing the follow-up to Running Out of Time 2, released in 2001, directed by Johnnie To and Lau Ching-wan, who's done a lot of the kind of PTU spin-off movies. I think they're called Tactical Unit. That's what we really know from that director. He's got a very limited release during the kind of the early 2000s, we're in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he hasn't really done anything significant that I can see based on his IMDb list. But you know, obviously as a friend of Johnnie To and obviously a co-habited director, and I think he's someone obviously helped share the load a little bit in terms of what this film had to offer. And something I've noticed as well recently with watching some Johnnie To movies, especially his sequel when he's co-directing alongside another director, you're going to get something quite different, something quite bonkers, something a bit risky, not always as well received or not well, you know, as well, maybe not well as crafty compared to the first one. With something like Hero Trio and the first entry for this, you know, Running Out of Time, you know, these are two pretty solid films, definitive Johnnie To films. With his co-directed ones, they're a bit shaky ground. And that's why we're here to explore Running Out of Time 2, and this one is a very, very different film compared to the first one. The first one was a nice, fun chase movie, you know, thriller around the city. It wasn't too much about the action or the gunfights or any of that kind of stuff. It had some interesting kind of, you know, subtle hints and some really interesting kind of observational kind of context. It was a fun little caper around the city. You know, for a 15 rated film, it was quite light-hearted despite the subject matter, and it had a bit of that slice of life and had the, you know, traditional kind of, you know, signature moments of a Johnnie To film. And I think it was really good, and I think it was quite underrated, and, you know, it's definitely something I would revisit for the chemistry and the fun sequences and the kind of cat and mouse chase stuff. There's a lot of really good stuff in that first one, which I really appreciate, and I like the music choice as well. Please go and check out my review for the first one. There'll be links to the below, and you can find somewhere on the channel. The second one, this time around, has gone from a 15 to a PG, and it is a very different film, to say the least. I've literally just finished watching it. A lot to say, a lot to get through. I don't know where to begin. The storyline for this one is practically a carbon copy of the first one, but just not as well crafted, I would say. A lot more silly, a lot more comedy, a lot more kind of, you know, riskier in terms of its kind of sequences. Questionable kind of motivations between some of the characters. Cameras are dumber in this one. This one's a lot more of a kind of, you know, friendly family crowd pleaser kind of movie, this time bumper kind of edition, where the first one had a bit of an edge to it, a bit of a darker kind of a tone, and much more of an adult film compared to what this one is. This one is for all the family, friends and children, everyone who wants to watch it. And it's around Christmas. It's got a bit of a kind of redemption kind of theme towards it. It's got a goodwill towards man kind of aspect, I guess, towards the third act, which comes out of nowhere. You know, it's not really a Christmas film, and towards the kind of the end of the second act of the third act, which is just another reason why this film is so bizarre. And what I mean by this being a carbon copy of the first one, it's basically the same type of story. You've kind of got our main character, which is the negotiator, who comes across another thief, who this time is a magician, who is a fan of, you know, our main negotiator, which doesn't do much negotiating in the film this time compared to the first one. And he's going around doing kind of magic tricks, you know, smoke bombs, and doing epic kind of puzzles, and, you know, clues and mysteries and that kind of stuff, and really complex demands, and this epic master plan. He's compared to Robin Hood in the film. He's master thief, but also a magician. He's having a lot of fun, a lot of banter back and forth. This one is just basically, let's add more comedy. No bittersweet moments, no slice of life, just a straight up, just wacky kind of chase around kind of camper, full on comedy, I think, around the city, and it just doesn't really care what it's trying to say or what it's trying to do. The structure of the film is all over the place. The tone of the film is all over the place. Certain kind of elements that I kind of, you know, were hinted in the first one is blown up to epic proportions, and I don't know if this film is a parody, straight up kind of like Austin Powers level of comedy, just for fun for the family kind of thing, just taking the mick out of the first one, and a lot of kind of, you know, Hong Kong movies, because it definitely fits in that theme of kind of late 90s kind of comedies. While it does have those entertainment moments, it's also extremely stupid. You know, the comedy between the, you know, our negotiator character and the kind of the sergeant is amped up to like 11 in this one. Every single scene is just him being silly. And what can we take from the first one? What can we take out? We'll take out the slice of life. We'll take out the dark elements of the cancer storyline, the motivations. We'll take out the cool, interesting character motivation stuff. We'll get rid of that. We don't need any of that kind of thing. You know, we'll just take the bare bones stuff. We'll take the stuff that people sort of liked, you know, the music. We'll keep the fun chase around stuff. We'll keep the cool sequences where he's doing tricks and he's not really hurting anyone kind of thing, even though he sort of is. in a lot of places, even though he's doing practically terrorist level kind of sequences in this one especially. You know, this one is playing itself way too cooler than it should be. Well, the first one, the character, you know, Dylan's character was really cocky and very kind of, you know, smug. His motivations were quite engaging, quite interesting. I liked the small downtime moments. I liked the reasons why he was doing the things he is, and the whole dress or the FX stuff was really fun. And I think the ending was really well appropriate and, you know, kind of cemented it. And I like serious, grounded, serious moments alongside fun comedy kind of, you know, chase around stuff. You know, if you can balance the two, that's great. The first act of the film is more of a copy of the first one, and it's just kind of just the same kind of beats with the kind of the taxi driver sequence and, you know, the epic kind of cool setups and the puzzles. Our new thief, a magician character, is not as charismatic or as interesting compared to what the first one was, and, you know, not even comparing it to the first one, just the character itself, I don't think it was particularly that engaging, if I'm being honest. I don't know if that's the actor's fault or that's the actual storyline and how much material was given to him. All the scenes him, it was just him being very smug and being very kind of too cool for school kind of thing, and it doesn't quite work, and I don't think there's enough real moments in there to be kind of something there to be, you know, get behind. And trying to up the ante is trying to be more convoluted, is trying to do more epic puzzles with suspension of disbelief a lot of places, with, like, you know, him jumping off buildings and disappearing and, you know, vanishing into the smoke, and you're going to get behind that very quickly if you don't like, you know, that stuff without an explanation, or if you can't get, and if it's not well presented enough, then you're going to kind of start to lose your attention. And my attention was starting to kind of break very early on. I didn't know where the film was trying to land on in terms of that sense. And if this was to be a full-on main comedy, fair enough, but it doesn't stick anything. And then on the other hand, this could be very much a romantic gay comedy. And my little theory, my little kind of suggestion about what it could be in the first movie, with the character potentially being gay, and this one is blown up to epic proportions. I mean, I'm talking about like giant waving flag, look at me kind of thing. And not to say that it's bad or anything, but I'm just saying it's just jumping the shark to another level. While the first one had subtlety and had context within the story, and it kind of added something extra in terms of a layer on top of the film, this one just goes, yeah, we don't really care, we're just going to go for it, and we're just going to do a full-on sequence in the film where they're chasing after each other on a bike and they're sort of like slapping each other. Very revealing, very kind of, you know, obvious kind of sequence. Now, honestly, this is the funniest sequence I think I've ever seen in a Hong Kong movie, despite the fact I've just saw a whole sequence where an ego has been a main chase factor in the entire film. What am I watching? I mean, there's no subtlety in this sequence whatsoever. I can't tell if this is good or bad, I really can't. There you go, here comes the shot. Yes. Oh my god, here we go. Oh. Fair play movie, fair play. They don't have him have a love interest in the film either, so that also backs up that theory. Out of nowhere, kind of turn left field kind of sequence I think I've ever seen. Having a full-on chase sequence where they're just on a bike in a street with pop music and kind of, you know, rain and blue littered kind of, you know, scenery, very romantic, and just the way it's kind of, the look exchange back and forth, it's just so fucking funny. I definitely applaud the film for just going there and just going, yeah, we don't care anymore, let's just get the cat out of the bag and just have a lot of fun with it. And, you know, again, it doesn't kind of impact the story too much, it doesn't really add too much to the context of everything that's going on. It's just kind of there. It's just a sequence that's there, and it's suggesting something very strong. And whether this is a full-on parody or a romantic comedy, and this is what I'm saying, the film is so flip-flop between these different ideas, where it wants to be a carbon copy of the first one with cool sequences, then he wants to be a parody, then he wants to be a romantic comedy, and then he kind of mashes all three together, then he throws Christmas in there. There's some really odd sequences where characters are speaking in English dub. I don't fully understand why they're exchanging back and forth dialogue sequence while speaking in English, while speaking in Cantonese or Mandarin. I don't fully understand why there's a thing in the film. You know, it's just, what's the purpose of that for international audiences if these characters couldn't actually speak the proper language? I don't understand what the point was, and why a character speaking in full-on English and then the other one's responding in full-on, you know, Cantonese or you know Mandarin. I just don't understand why that's in the film. Can anyone explain that? Please comment down below. I don't know what else to say about this film. I can understand why people would say this is a bad film. I can understand why people say this is a guilty pleasure. I can definitely see that. And if people like this film, I can sort of understand that as well. It's kind of got the charm still of a Johnnie To film, but just nowhere near the level, nowhere near the mark compared to the first one. And I'm not even saying just in a comparison to the first one, just as an actual movie. I don't know what this film is trying to go for. The first one had subtlety, it had structure, it had something to say. This feels more like a studio demand movie. Hey, look, we need to make another one. We need to make another movie very quickly. What do we have in our category? We are running out of time. Let's make this into a full-on parody, comedy, copycat chase around the thriller movie with cooler sequences, more convoluted. Does it make sense? Absolutely not. Why is the demand so bizarre and so, out there? I don't know. Why are we having CGI eagles? Why are we having a chase sequence with a CGI eagle? Why are we having a chase sequence on a bike where we're just kind of torching each other back and forth? I don't know. It comes down to you as an audience member. What do you want from a Hong Kong movie? What are you willing to accept? And what is your suspension of disbelief? Especially coming off the first one, I don't think it works. Coming off the first one, I think you have to see it as a completely separate beast, a separate entity, and you have to see it in a very different mindset for sure. I would not want to do this as a double bill. It just kind of throws you completely off guard. I think there's not much kind of expansion in terms of the characterizations and the character development. Nothing really changes, except most of the characters are dumber now compared to what they were in the first one. I think the circumstances are a lot more kind of, blown up and a bit more stylized and a bit more kind of turn up to 11 just to kind of make it cooler or more edgier kind of thing, and it tries to add new elements in it but doesn't quite all gel well together. This is a mixed mash of ideas and it doesn't quite gel. I can see why this is a co-directed movie and not a full Johnnie To movie. It's got a little bit of something in there, it's got a little bit of magic, and you can sort of tell. I would easily say this is Johnnie To's weakest film that I've seen so far. Being this is a co-directed film, that's a bit of a pinch of salt there. I think this is a bit of a misfire for me. I don't quite know what this film tonally and what this film ultimately is trying to present and what it's trying to say. I get a lot of elements. I get what it's trying to go for in terms of a family movie more so this time, and it's shaving off things to kind of make it more accessible, make it more commercial, and I get that. But there's a lot of sequences in this film that I'm gobsmacked they are greenlit, and my mind is still processing it. Maybe I'll get more of a second viewing, I don't know. Check it out, it's on the set, it's on there, it's an extra disc, why not? That's my thoughts and opinions on Running Out of Time 2, guys. Please comment down below. I'd love to see your thoughts and opinions on the two movies. Why do you think there wasn't a third one? I know exactly why there wasn't a third one. So yeah, looking forward to the next review, guys, and for reviews. So yeah.